All right, well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and by the way, welcome to our meeting. We're glad to have you here. Item 1.3 is approval of the agenda.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we postpone to March 10th, action item 2.03.
All right. We have a motion to postpone that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Which one is that?
The Carlin A.
Gotcha.
Jeffrey.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions?
What's it?
We just have a timing issue
Oh,
with
okay.
that one.
All right.
The motion is to move it to the March 10th meeting.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor of moving that to the March 10th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and we will move that to the March 10th meeting. All right. So now we need an approval of the whole agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and the agenda is approved. Item number 1.04 is input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. No action may be taken on a matter raised. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to item 1.05, receive a presentation from Shane Sutton to review the 2019-20 CTE Quality Program Standards Report from the Department of Education.
Thank you. I'm Shane Sutton. I'm the CTE facilitator for the school district, and each year, for the past 3 years, we're on our third year of this. The State Department of Education, through NRS, I believe it was, developed a procedure for the State Department to come to our schools, evaluate our CTE programs based on some adopted standards, which we call the Program Quality Standards. Quality program, I never get the Q and the P right on this. But anyhow, we had our visitations for both Elko High School and Oahe High School this fall. The school staff, CTE staff, administration, counseling departments put together some evidentiary materials. We submit that, and we have a live on-site visitation from staff members from the Department of Ed's Craleo office. And I submitted the reports, and I guess I'm just here for any comments, questions on the reports.
Any questions or comments from the board?
How often do they do this for each school? We're going to be going through a rotation with other schools.
Yes,
To see.
3 years ago, Wells was our pilot school. We were allowed one school to start with, so 3 years ago we picked Wells. We did that. The year before that was Spring Creek High School and Carlin High School, and this past year was the Oahe and Elko High School. So next year will be Jackpot and Wendover. That'll take us to our 5th year, and then we'll start again until we have new directives from the State Department.
Anything identified as like proficient or exceptional in
No,
schools or?
Okay. For that, in the report, there are 2 sets of responses that we're required to give after their evaluation. One is corrective action plan. That is something that needs immediate attention, that is a serious procedural mistake for how we're carrying out our CTE programs. Don't think we've had one yet, except for, well, we had some enrollment issues at Wells High School the very first year. They really didn't need to be a corrective action, but it was something that we needed that was already being taken care of. We knew with our graphics program as far as getting the enrollment straight on that. And we didn't have any with Spring Creek or Carlin. And this year, the only thing that was corrective action was some of our classrooms have posters and stuff too close to the ceiling, and that was it. Then there is the other set. The others are just the ongoing suggestions that are made. And in the reports, you saw, should have found the section for that right before the individual program reports. And those are the continuing action programs are those that are found in each of the separate programs that are in some need of improvement or some answer as to response of how we'll work on it better. If you look at those reports, I think you'll see that I can't remember the standard by heart, but it has something to do with elements of the program, CTE program course elements, CTE program elements. We all get NAs on that, and I don't know why. Nobody can tell me. It has to do with our syllabuses. So there must be something, but from the State Department, they never tell us exactly what the problem is. They just mark it off their sheet. So I haven't really worried about it, and we always say on our corrective action responses, we'll try to do better. So, but they were both pretty good. We had, this year we had, I think our early childhood education program was scored on their rubric as a distinguished program. So Ms. Herford and her crew, with that, their connections they have with, I think, with the post-secondary is what really helps with that to complete the total link of how the programs are evaluated with the rubric. And we had another distinguished program at Elko High School in the veterinary science.
Now, is the State Department utilizing this information and this report? Does it have an impact on any funds that are received, any potential state funds?
It has a good side of it, as it is a critical part of what we'll talk about a little bit later, our comprehensive learning needs assessment. So this is an easy way to identify our strengths and weaknesses for our individual programs. So this is a quick, great way. Actually, I think at first, we all thought, man, there's a lot of paperwork and just another thing that we have to do in the daily grind, especially if you're a full-time teacher. But we did see some good things out of it when you look at it in a positive sense. The second year, we haven't had to use it, as I think what your question is, does it have any immediate reflection on how our programs are funded through either the Perkins or the state CTE grants? They've told us that it isn't. But then the CLNA becomes a part that is linked directly to the Perkins grants, so in a roundabout way, it kind of is. But it is a good way for us to use for our grant applications to justify the need for things that we've known are problems and weaknesses in some of our programs of study throughout the district. So it has had a positive effect as far as being able to show evidence of need when we do apply for the funding. But as far as a direct, it hasn't been tied by the state for that. It is also not used as part of the teacher evaluation as well. That's explicit for that.
Any other questions for Mr. Sutton? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 1.06, which is also Mr. Sutton. Receive a presentation regarding the 2020 CTE Comprehensive Learning Needs Assessment, CLNA, as required by the federal Carl Perkins Grant for fiscal year 21.
Okay, through the Federal Perkins Act, Perkins 5 actually, within that plan required that each district every 2 years undertake a comprehensive learning needs assessment. We've been working on this since last September when school started, last August when school started. This is a summary report that was included in the board. There's a lot of data sheets, a lot of different stuff that is required, some things that aren't in here that I didn't include, or we didn't include in it because it was kind of redundant information. But what we do with this now before the development of our Perkins grant, which is due in May, the second week of May, I believe, we'll now take this learning needs assessment, And we'll work with a group of stakeholders that include some of our teachers, parents, a board member may be invited, some administration and some guidance people, and we're going to spend an afternoon going through this because there is an 8-page portion of our Perkins grant for this year that must address specific things within this report. So the purpose of tonight was this, is just to make this a public record, that the report is out there. Probably toward the end of March, first part of April, we will get that group together for an afternoon with Mr. McEnany's direction, and we will hammer out those points. And then when our Perkins grant goes to approval and proposal, I don't know if we'll handle that with Cassie's grant report, but everybody will have an opportunity to see those 8 pages of what we came up with as strengths, weaknesses, and needs of improvement per the areas, for all the areas covered with the comprehensive learning needs assessment. So tonight's procedure is just, this is out in public for any comment at any time. It'll be distributed after tonight to all of district personnel, CTE personnel, administration, and guidance for their review. Then there will be a call for that committee to come out, so we have a good portion of people to look through the information and give our response as stated in the application. So if there's any questions about it. There's a lot of neat data in here that'll be fun to sit down with that group and point out some stuff. I think this is something, again, this was one of those things, like, especially as long as I am, oh man, we've got enough to do. But this actually, we haven't done this, and there is some neat information that found when you actually get into the layers and layers. You can see, here's the report, but the file is that thick of all the different layers. We also have a database that is new that the State Department has come out with, and I think I was on the viewing committee of how it works and during the building process of it this year, and it was just finalized last month. But a lot of data that we would like to find that came up with some of the data for this report is they've done a really good job. So, for example, if I needed to know how many free and reduced lunch kids at Elko High School have been, or what we call completers, have reached their second level of a CTE course, that data is right there. And then it can deep dive into it, or slice, as these people keep saying, slice the data down to individual programs at schools, and it really gives you a sense based on 3 years worth of data that is submitted to the State Department through Infinite Campus. So Infinite Campus, we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, statewide meeting regarding Infinite Campus and about how it can better help our CTE programs. So I found out with that meeting that a lot of districts have a lot more cool things they can do with their Infinite Campus than I can do, and I don't know if I don't have the access or if we don't have that part of it. When those people get to talk, and I get really confused in a hurry because they use their lingo and stuff, but we're working on that. So that's a statewide initiative to get everybody's career and tech ed Infinite Campus capabilities kind of matched up and lined up, as the state will be using that that's our source that goes to Bighorn and reports all of this state data.
Questions from the board?
Shane, when you say needs assessment, is that just for current programs, or will that also look at potential
Futures too.
Okay. Are there some that might be STEM related that
Yes.
could partner with some of the normal academic areas?
Yes.
Okay.
And just came out the other day, I don't know if Mr. Pearson got the same thing that INSHE and the consortium of some of our school superintendents, is that was in that white paper? Regarding, rather than, we use the term, we have our CTE college credit, which is articulated credit. We have dual enrollment, and now they're talking about concurrent enrollment. So meaning that a class that may be taught as a CTE pathway is the college class without the college being the instructor. So that is out there, and it's under discussions right now. When we look at the employment data based on the West Ed report, as far as occupations, high skill, high wage, as we term it in career and tech ed, there's one that I see that is really apparent that our district probably would do us good to look into, and that's the teaching and training segment of career and tech ed. Because as we all know that we have a big disparity, a big gap of having enough qualified teachers to fill our classrooms all the way from the pre-K all the way up that could fill a need. And if we could get some programs that feed into our college programs at the high school level and get those kids jump-started with that, I see that as a real need, especially for Northeast Nevada. That was the neat thing about the new West Ed report on the economic data and our jobs outlooks for high skill, high wages was rather than a statewide thing. So when you get the picture, it's Vegas and Reno, that it was actually regionalized. So we have good Northeast Nevada data, and that the teacher training, our natural resources, of course, is always a big demand. The mining manufacturing area is big as well as with health science. The governor has set forth with his plan through Owen that we have 4 main clusters that are of needed importance. They're aerospace, construction, manufacturing technology, and IT network, information technology, those 4. So those are what his office at Owen, whatever Owen stands for. They keep using all these acronyms. I can't keep them straight. But those are his 4 big blanket areas for that. And teaching and training doesn't quite fall under that. And lo and behold, the new report that was dated last December came out and added a 5th one, and that is the teaching and training. So it's one of the governor's emphasis points now. So there will be more to come with the CLNA, and we'll have a final report to give to you probably the end of April.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Mr. Sutton, since you're already up here, if you don't mind, we will move item 2.06 next, since that's also you, and we'll just, end the Mr. Sutton show after this one. Accept a proclamation from the Governor's Office for Career and Technical Education Month for Nevada.
You're 2.05 as well, right?
I don't know what the numbers are.
HVAC.
Yeah, and then there's one more definite
Okay, let's
action.
start with 2.05, then we'll move to 2.06.
Which one's
Okay.
5?
5 is the HVAC. We'll let you get all your folders out.
Okay, this is an action item. As you may have heard, hopefully, that our OSIT, the GBC OSIT grant was approved for our HVAC and construction trades programs. We had a meeting last week, so all of the parties involved, Mr. McEnany and I were in attendance at that. We've all got a kind of a laundry list of little things to do, and one of those is that we've got to get HVAC back into the CTE course catalog. It was one of the original pathways and standards that was in the CTE course catalog, and in 2013 it was removed or sunsetted because of lack of participation. The programs that we're offering, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning throughout the state, went stagnant and nobody was offering it. And so we have a program that goes 3 years without any participation in it. It automatically goes into the sunset phase. So it was sunsetted, and I thought maybe, well, since it was sunsetted, can't we have the sun rise? And the people at the State Department said, no, we have to do the procedure. So you got the paperwork. I'll have to find somebody that has Adobe Writer, because this was all a fillable file, but where it says program study name right down there at the bottom, there wasn't a drop down, and nobody will let me have Adobe Writer on my computer in the district, so I'll have to get Cassie a $5 bill and have her type that in tomorrow, since she's probably got it.
It's gone up. It's 10.
So this is that document that we have to submit for our justification. They want a short, succinct narrative, so those justifications of all the points in the application are addressed in those areas. And so with your approval of that, Mr. McEnany can sign it and we can mail it off tomorrow.
Questions from the board? Motion from the board?
It's a procedural
Move to
type.
approve.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is approved. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Now, item 2.06, a proclamation from the Governor's Office for Career and Technical Education Month for Nevada.
The governor and his office, and it is on a national scope. This is National Career and Technical Education Month for all of our schools. We've got a lot of programs that have lots of activities going on during this month. It's kind of a tough month for the Nevada career and technical ed kids to get really excited about some external type activities because they're all preparing for their state competitive events at this time. But we do have some programs going on, and so I will submit to the board the governor's proclamation, and it can become an official record. You can hang it up. So, thank you.
Thank you. And do we need to approve the proclamation? Or just accept it?
It's
just accepted.
Okay.
Yeah. Our district recognizes that it's CTE month, so.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. We appreciate you and all the time you put into CTE and making our CTE programs successful and continuing to work to make them better and better all the time. Thank
We
you.
got some staff and kids, so.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, we will move on to item 2.01, receipt, review, and possible approval of request for purchase of retirement service credit. Mr. Pearson, any?
Well, I just want to thank all of the people on the list that have been so loyal to this district. Because, you know, the language changed where you have to have at least 20 years to be put on the list, if you will. And I just appreciate everything that these people have done and have hung with us for 20 plus years.
Discussion from the board?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve the request for purchase of retirement service credit for the entire list that we have before us.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like the price tag there of both of those traditional groups, B and C, just looking at financially, $615,000, over $500,000. And I ask you this all the time, Jerry, is this budgeted for?
Not in this year, because unless they're an admin person, they'll be paid out next fiscal year.
And then what does it cost for a 1% raise for teachers and administrators?
About $1 million.
Okay, just a 1%.
Well, no, it's about, I guess a 1% is closer to about $500,000.
Yeah, roll up for that one. I know traditionally we've done those that are fully vested once we've bought that, which would be the traditional B category. The first 6 would be fully vested with the buyout, not the other ones. And that's only costing us $275,000. And then I just looked at a ratio of cost to savings for every $8 we spend on that first group there, the 6. We save $1 versus the last 7 spending $46 and only saving $1 for the ratio. So I don't know if it's a very good business decision to buy both of those categories, even though I know there's no categories anymore with the master contract.
Thank you. Other discussion? If there's no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor to accept all of both categories. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Nay.
And the chair votes aye. All right, so it sounds like that motion carries. Item number 2.2 is request permission to open discussions with the city of Elko. Actually, before we go on, I too want to say thank you, because you look at that list and there's a lot of years of service to Elko County. And, a lot of people, retire and then they come back, because I go to the schools and I see people that have come back to volunteer and they're still helping, even if they're not receiving a paycheck, because we know you love the kids, you love to see them succeed. And so I love to see the dedication our teachers and staff have to our students even after they retire. So thank you for that. Okay, item number 2.2 is request permission to open discussions with the city of Elko for the possible purchase of the Rocky Road site.
All right, Casey's here.
First of all, I want to clarify the newspaper article this morning. There was no conversation with myself or Superintendent Pierce on that. What they did is they looked at the two-sentence item on this agenda item and saw accelerated, which I probably should have reused a different word, that they're diligently working on getting that next level of thing. And they took a blurb from the debt management commission meeting we had last week and tied the two together, and all of a sudden we're buying this property, we're building a new school in 2 to 5 years. That's not what it is. I've clarified it with this paper, so after our decision on this tonight, she's going to write a rebuttal and clarify things. So just want to let everybody know on that. That was kind of embarrassing this morning.
Yeah, busy morning, Casey.
I had the city calling me, I had all kinds of people calling me. But what I want to do is talk about this property up here, this Bullion Road property in this general area. We've looked at it 4 years ago in this study, and at that time the utilities were further out than they are now. They said they're actively working on getting utilities there. We do have water service there, but this property is up for sale for the city. The VA is looking at it for a cemetery there, so that's why I want to kind of talk to them about getting it for us right now, because I think it's got a lot of long-term potential for us.
On Bullion or Rocky?
On Rocky Road,
Okay.
on North Fifth. Because what I think they said, it's over 32 acres, it's almost 38 acres, the whole property. So I think we could not only put a school there, and when that does develop up here, which will happen, the topography is really pro-housing, it's relatively flat up there, so you can build houses for relatively inexpensive. But having that 33 acres to 38 acres there, we can actually relocate the warehouse up there from the south side and have much better access for our trucks delivering all the product, plus free up space for potential expansion at south side to alleviate some of that problem there. We can also move central kitchen up there. There'd be room for that. We'll free up some space at Elko High School. So I just wanted to look at it as an opportunity. We got to talk to them, see what it costs. It's not committing to buying this. It's just exploring that as an option.
I definitely think that this site, the Rocky Road site, is a lot better site than over off the Bullion. As choices that we've got, I'm interested to see how, the plans can come together if you're utilizing the warehouse over in that area too, which frees up the area right at Southside School for other things. So I think that with the anticipated growth going out that way in town, that we should probably pursue and find out. Maybe it won't work, but I'd like to see us move forward with that.
I just zoomed in on Southside real quick. So this is the warehouse right here with cursor is. You would have the ability to put whatever we wanted there. We could actually put another 2-story building there to expand the population there at Southside. But we're not really seeing a lot of growth development-wise in the Southside area. So anytime you put a new school in, you would adjust those boundaries. So we'd be pushing those kids a little bit north towards that growth. So we'd take care of the population issue we have at Southside.
What about that property that the district has there on Bullion? There's not.
We already have
Drain
that
that.
property.
We own this property right here,
Maybe trading it or selling it for that. Because it just doesn't seem like that property's going to be worth as much to the district down the road as.
It's really not. It's this property here. When this property was kind of discussed earlier, this is the air cart coming out of the tire shop there. The city was at one time looping that road all the way back to the hospital, but due to right-of-way issues and stuff, I really don't see that road looping back to the hospital and thus causing development to go up there. That'd be a tough one to develop.
Like you said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But like you said, though, by vacating the warehouse there at Southside, you could definitely adapt to any growth in that area.
Absolutely.
That attendance area.
I mean, you have room back there to put a gymnasium and 12 classrooms.
Can the district and the city trade, or does it have to be by itself?
That would be a good question. We got to get fair market value. So whatever appraised value, if it's a fair market trade, I think we can do that. So we can't, be trading for lesser value.
And do we own the property next to Adobe? That was also considered? Because I noticed and it could change, and I know this is not committing to a school yet, but the improvements.
We own all of this area.
Okay, that's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
because the improvements at Rocky Road, at least when they did that study, were about 1.8 billion compared to 19,000 for the Adobe property. And now that they've built that subdivision up closer, there's actually a decent road up there that accesses Mountain City Highway. Another outlet so that you're not competing with traffic on the two roads.
Again, the cost savings for the civil improvements are less at Adobe, but the earthworks would be in the millions.
Because of the
Sheer off. And
So it's a wash then?
It would be cheaper to go to Rocky Road. And also because the city, this is Jennings Way right here. They're planning on looping that back to exit 298. And I think that's going to happen soon, not 298, excuse me, 303, sooner than the other loop. So,
What's 303?
First of
Oh, the exit.
exit over by Albertsons. They want to loop that Jennings all the way over by that way. Go up behind the golf course.
Do we have, since the VA was looking at that, is there anything politically that we're doing to make them angry, or?
Well, they only want 15 acres right in the center of it, so they're going to make it a worthless around it.
Okay.
We'll be competing with them against it, but we could probably do a survey around the neighborhood to see if they want to have a graveyard or they
I
want
was going to say, I already talked to the Veterans Office over here, and it's a hot topic that the neighborhood does not want a cemetery near them, but I know, out of respect for the veterans, that, I mean, that'd be an issue we'd have to, I don't know if we'd have to deal with it, but.
Did the city give a timeline on how soon those water tanks would be going in?
It's all a matter of time.
It's just a hot topic in my office.
Yeah, well, it's all right-of-way related. It's all right-of-way related.
Okay.
Because they, zoom back out here a little bit. They're gonna put the tank up in this general area. We actually own 80 acres right here. We've actually given them an easement for the right-of-way. There's several other developers up there that own property that are still trying to negotiate easements and right-of-ways.
And we don't own the Fifth Street property that's just really across the road from the Rocky
We don't.
Road site?
That's owned by a developer
That was-
who's
okay.
willing to work with us to sell it to us, so.
So with the water tank, we wouldn't have the water pressure issues that were a real issue
We'll see.
with Adobe
Well, Adobe's got
initially.
not too bad a water pressure issue. We could deal with it because water is here. We could actually put in a booster pump. It's pretty reasonably priced to get enough water pressure to go to a second floor, do everything we need to do. So I envision this being, I don't have the perfect crystal ball, but, 5-10 years out, but I think it gives us some opportunity for growth.
But the newspaper says we do it next year.
According to the newspaper, I said that.
All right, any other discussion from the board?
I move that we go forward with this, with the stipulation to look at that, trading that deleted property.
Sorry. I just want to make one other comment. The only costs I see with this would be the cost of appraisal. So we're looking at a couple $1,000.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye. And open discussions with the city.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2.03 is receipt, review, and possible award. Oh, pause, never mind, we took that one off. Item 2. I've got a list here. Item 2.4, review and discuss the process to select a student representative for the Elko County School District Board. All right, Mr. Pearson.
All right, I was asked to put this on the agenda so that you as a board could discuss how you wanted to go about selecting a student representative for your meetings.
Discussions in the board.
There was just a presentation we went to a couple years ago, and a guy said they had one on their board, and one example he gave was they had a girl on their board for a year, and she went to college, University of Cincinnati, I think, and they were going to hire a new president, and they wanted a student involved in it, and they took resumes and picked her because she had been involved in school board, so it just opened a avenue for kids to get involved.
Are there liability issues for travel to school board meetings if a student were to do this? Like say we chose a student from Wells or Wendover?
You know, we could do the virtual for sure, so that they wouldn't have to travel.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
every city or every town will have a chance.
Right, and that was kind of my biggest question is how, I guess there'd be an application process, possibly a principal recommendation to start with maybe, or staff recommendation of some sort. Doesn't have to be the principal, I guess, but because you want it to be open to everybody in the district, you don't, and I guess age limits, would you just want to be seniors or juniors, you know? How long would the term be? Lots of questions for you to answer. So
Is it only an advisory position or a voting position?
I would say it's an
Have to be
advisory.
advisory.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to vote.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where this initiative came from. I didn't know if the state is dictating that.
No, it's just
Oh, okay.
an idea.
Heard about it at NASB
Yep.
conference too.
Yeah.
I think we've got plenty of civic-minded high schoolers that would be interested, so I think it's a great idea. Wondering if we should form maybe a committee, because committees are fun. And I'm not on enough of them.
herself.
So you're saying the superintendent's advisory committee should take this on too?
Sure. Why
Guess who's
not?
on that committee?
Candace is on that committee.
Candace, she's not here.
Oh, she'll say yes.
I think maybe a committee to just kind of firm
Set
up
up an application.
an application process and think about how we're going to get the word out and hopefully bring it back to the board shortly.
Picking one this spring, and they serve from September to May.
School year?
Just school
Yeah,
year, or you guys just
School
serve
year.
full year?
Yeah.
Just like the state school board.
You know, if you get a senior on there, they're going to one off.
One out.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Well, and I'm not sure we would want a senior. We want somebody that kind of vested in the decisions that we make, and so I'm thinking like sophomore, junior level might be ideal.
Have a student-led process to pick them. Interviewed by students. You know,
I'm not sure, because then it could, Brian just sort of muttered it could be a popularity contest.
contest.
But I do think we could formalize it, make it like an application process. They would obviously need a recommendation from a teacher or from an admin. Bring it to the committee. The committee can maybe pick 5, and then maybe they could have students write letters of recommendation, and then from there we could decide. Or, you know, I'm just spitballing here, so we could do something like that if we want student input on it. Or we could make that part of the initial application process. Okay, if you want to apply for this, we need 3 student recommendations, a teacher recommendation, and an admin recommendation. And then if they're willing to put in that work, you know they want the job.
Yeah.
Tammy, is that an official motion?
I'll take it. That's a motion.
To refer it to.
Refer it to Superintendent's Committee.
All right.
I will handle it.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to refer to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is going to committee. We're going to see here lots of committee reports here in a few meetings from now. All right.
Got a lot of work to do. Next
The
couple
pin
months.
touch
right.
right before it leaves.
Okay. We'll move on to item 3.01, our consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and our consent agenda is approved. Item 4.01 is a report from our NASB director.
We had a teleconference last Thursday. Going to move the NASB office from Reno to Carson City. The rent will be about the same. The only thing we're missing out on is that NIAA would print anything that NASB needed printed. But Reno High School will do it for a penny a paper. Anything we need done. Flyers, the convention, anything, conference that. And they're going to move the fall conference to Harvey's Casino in Tahoe. They got a better deal on it, and they have to book rooms quite a bit earlier. They're still working on the dates and when we'd have to book rooms by, but they had to block so many rooms, and if they don't use all those up, then the price, it's a pretty significant price change. And there'll be training for new board members the day before the conference. It's in November.
During snow season?
During snow season, yes, sir. But, and that's what we discussed on the teleconference.
All right, any questions or comments? Thank you for your report. Item number 4.20 is items from board members.
One of them is that Todd already let everyone know is the debt management committee did approve the pay-as-you-go. I went in with the idea that we might have a lot of discussion, and there really wasn't any discussion. It was pretty much cut and dried that the members that were there wanted it.
Good questions, I thought, from the board.
And the other thing is I went to the STEM Fest at Spring Creek High School, and I was going to go to the middle school, but as you can tell, it was interesting with the high school because they had so many different types of projects, and there was some that I wouldn't have even thought of, and there was a lot of thought going into the projects that they wanted to work on.
Kind of piggybacking on Keith's thoughts on the STEM Fair, the Elko County STEM Fair is coming up and they are in need of judges. If anyone is interested on the board or in the audience, you can let me know and I can forward the email to you for the letter that lets you sign up. Or just go visit and see the projects are amazing. So, and Northside STEM Fair is tonight. I'm missing it, but I'm sure it's awesome. So.
Send me the email, please.
I will.
Any other items?
I was just going to mention, my wife and I, on President's Day weekend, got a chance to go to what's called the Learning in the Brain Conference in San Francisco, and this year's theme was the trauma-informed classroom, and I was telling Jeannie about this earlier today, but phenomenal conference about how to not just deal with the symptoms of behavior, but look at the root causes of those and why students act the way they do, and some of the classroom management techniques that we use. And I was just hoping maybe that we could explore that as some training, to bring somebody in as a possible trainer for that aspect of, especially since the state was talking about some of the restorative practices that they expect districts to do. And I did hear Humboldt County has been doing some things with those restorative practices and the suspensions that have been positive, and that their board has been thumbs up on it. So doing some good things over there as well. I don't know where we're at with that process or
With restorative discipline processes?
Yeah.
We're meeting all the state requirements and as far as requirements for special education students and things of that nature. So we're right where we need to
will we
be.
do a presentation or anything like that on how we're proceeding, how it's.
So at the beginning of the year, when we presented the restorative discipline plan, that was what that was.
Okay.
Yeah, so
We'll have updates
But
on
you
an
can-
annual basis.
You can direct the superintendent as to what data or update you would like.
Yeah.
So that we have some direction on what we would present to you.
Probably not me personally, but
Any of you, any of you board members
Yeah.
can.
yeah, if you want suspension rates and things of that nature, I mean, we can provide that.
I will test the new superintendent.
All right, any other items from board members? I will just let everyone know Spring Creek High School is hosting the academic regionals tomorrow from 3 to 6. And it's kind of fun to go and watch. You just kind of slip in and sit in a desk. Remember how it was to be a student and squish into a desk. And I have lots of other kids there and just listen to the kids compete. It's a lot of fun. So if you have a minute, hop over the hill to Spring Creek if you're over here or wherever and participate in that. It's a great thing to watch. Those kids know answers to lots of interesting things. I've also had an opportunity to participate in some of the different STEM fairs at the different schools, and it's been fun to see the different projects. And I always love to see everyone's ideas and how they present those. All right, anything else? If not, we'll move on to item number 5.01, our superintendent's report.
Okay, we included a summary of enrollment for your information, instruction update, if you have any questions, Casey's here, and then I also included a very nice letter regarding our discussions we had about the 4-day school week in Spring Creek for you.
All right, any questions for Mr. Pearson?
As far as the 4-day school week committee for the superintendent's advisory committee, I'm going to meet with the staff up here and then get our initial group, which is the ACTA representatives, our admin association, you guys, everybody, and then we're going to start there and decide who we want on this committee and what we want to figure out or find out. That's the plan, just so you're aware. I'm not just tucking it into a file. It's actually on my desk.
Well, I have lots of people asking all the time. So
I'm sure you do.
Good to hear. All right, any other questions for Mr. Pearson? All right, we can move on to item number 6.01, approval of accounts payable.
I move to approve accounts payable.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, disclosures? Anything else? I will be disclosing that I have a family member on the accounts payable, so I will be abstaining. All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the accounts payable, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And it sounds like the ayes have it. The accounts payable are approved. Item number 7.01 is a final opportunity for comments from the public. Thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate you coming anytime. And we love to hear your comments, even when they're just silent smiles coming at us from the chairs. Item number 8.01 is adjournment of the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good job.
We did. We did. All right. Thank you again for joining us. This meeting is adjourned. So they're So they all had to pick out, you know, somebody. I've got 10 minutes, I can make it.
Well, I'm still here.
Have lunch.
Stop it, Tammy.